Mental health is a growing concern with depression and anxiety costing the global economy $1 trillion annually. Today, we'll explore how taking mental health leave is becoming a vital option for many workers. Joining us is Dr. Mina Merhome, a board-certified psychiatrist and assistant professor of psychiatry at Columbia University. Dr. Merhome, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you again.
Absolutely. And let's start with what exactly is mental health leave, because it's quite widespread, this issue. 1 in 5 U.S. adults experiencing mental health issues each year. But people really don't know much about what they can do in terms of taking leave from work.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we see globally, the most common cause of disability worldwide is actually depression. But in high, fast-paced economies around the world, what you see is people kind of pushing through to be able to get to a place of high functioning depression or anxiety. And it's sort of like working through an injury or working through an illness when you feel like you have the sniffles and you kind of go to work anyway, or you feel like you're not at your best and you try to perform your best anyway. A leave of absence for mental health reasons is one of the most important ways that we can recoup and recover. In the same way that you don't want to push your body too far and find yourself in a place where you're not going to be doing well, mentally we're in the same place. It's one of the ways that we can get ahead of a disability for mental health purposes and catch it in a place where it's still preventable and treatable. Taking that pause to have a focused, concentrated time of treatment can go a long way.
And we'll flip the focus now to the employer. Research shows that poor mental health costs employers an average of $2,000 to $5,000 per employee each year. How does ignoring mental health issues impact companies' bottom lines in the end?
Yeah, that's the thing, Steph. This is not just a charitable thing to do if you're an employer. The single most expensive mistake you can make if you're an employer is to ignore this issue, because that $1 trillion a year annually that we're seeing around the world, or on the flip side, every $1 you invest in the mental health of your team, your staff, can give you an ROI of $4 of productivity in return. So this is really seen as a smart business decision that's made, not only morally or ethically or to kind of have our teams and our staff do well, but this is something that has a tremendous impact in a positive direction for making that investment up front can prevent loss and prevent the many, many mental health days that are lost annually due to mental health concerns. But you're just seeing that increase in productivity is a real place for us to pay attention to.
And we're going to dive into the details of this further, but looking at demographics, Gallup reports that 65% of millennials say work-life balance and personal well-being is a top reason for them for taking a new job, whereas about half of baby boomers prioritize that in their job choice. Would you say younger workers may be more likely than older generations to take mental health leave?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the data be more consistent on this, and some theories are related to COVID. There was reorientation for all of us that realized perhaps my own work balance, my own structure of my day is worth even taking a little bit of a pay bump. Or a pay gap rather. And for that reason, if you're an employer and you're looking at recruitment and retention, making sure that you have the top talent to edge out the competition, you want to make sure that this culture that's being created that can attract folks in that generation to say, this is a place that you'd want to come and stay working, because we value not just your overall bottom line productivity level, but how this will be as a part of your overall benefit and overall lifestyle. And that really has gone a long way with folks who are job seeking in the market to say, what's the company culture like? Where's a place that I can learn, thrive, and grow? Even if it's not necessarily the same compensation level, people will take a hit financially if they know there's a bigger picture at stake.
And in your work, you have unique insight into the inner workings of people's minds across a range of situations. Can you share some examples of how taking mental health leave has helped people?
Yeah, absolutely. As we were saying in the beginning of the segment, folks often don't even realize this is an option. I was working recently with a patient who was a top-notch, high-performing, very competitive, job that he's had, and he's had in the past an opportunity to take a medical leave to have an important surgery on his knee that was actually causing him to be late to meetings. And I made the parallel for him and I said, in the same way, if you can just take a couple of weeks to have a focused treatment on a mental health concern that's been nagging, it's been in the back of our mind, and we really need to be able to address it for your own safety, for the longevity of work, just watch kind of how that investment in your personal health can make a huge difference. The same way he took the time to repair his ACL, and that made a difference in him going up and down to meetings. When he had that 3-week period, not a long time, of really focused mental health care, he was able to tell me a year later, he said, Dr. Merholm, I really saw that now I'm more productive, more focused, and I have a game plan that's sustainable.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a shift that might be hard to make for some people, to take that risk, even to come out and admit that there are needs beyond the physical that they have and that may affect their work. In fact, statistics support the idea that many people feel they would be seen differently by their peers or by their managers. But there are about 77% of employers at least say they are trying to expand those services through to their employees. What are companies doing to try to help their employees in this way?
Yeah, there are a few things to bear in mind. One is I always remind patients of their absolute confidentiality and privacy. When you're making that step and saying you're taking a leave for mental health purposes, that doesn't have to be disclosed in your LinkedIn. This is not something the whole company needs to know about. The privacy there is paramount. And the companies around the world are really taking a step to make sure that is a step that's protected. But then secondly, is also leading by example, participating in days like World Mental Health Day or Mental Health Awareness Month that's happening in May. When a company makes that disclosure upfront and says, we care about the physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, the health of our employees overall, it sets the tone and the example from the CEO all the way down, is that there's no shame here. There's no stigma to be made, and that if we need the time, we're going to take it. If we need support, that support will be available to us. So having that leading by example is really key from a company standpoint.
Yeah, and the statistics, all the research also shows that this kind of fear of stigma gets higher the higher up a person goes within a company in their position. So it's good to note there. But what advice do you have for people who are truly considering taking that step and asking for some kind of mental health support or leave through work?
Yeah, absolutely. The first step I've recommended to patients when I'm working with them in this process is know your benefits, know your rights. Oftentimes, from an annual level, when we are signing up for our benefits or choosing our primary docs or so on, folks are not often aware of, well, what is the extent of leave that I can have? Or what are the resources that I have even beyond taking a mental health leave or before it? What therapy is available to me? What kind of medications are available? What mental health care is covered? So the more informed I am, the better position I can be in to make the right call for me. Perhaps that call is a leave, and that begins with a conversation with my HR department, understanding what my benefits are, understanding what I may need to do to supplement that, and understanding who is the provider that can help me walk through that process. Oftentimes, having a therapist or a mental health clinician on board before the crisis can go a long way. We don't want to just wait until we're at a place where we're at the end of our rope, then to begin to initiate help.
Right, and understanding the company's policies ahead of time before any issues arise could also be a great way to understand the lay of the land without any stigma attached to that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, any final thoughts for people out there considering this and how it might affect them or impact their lives?
The final thought I would say is twofold. For the person who is on the employee side, that an investment into your mental health is an investment in the marathon that is our work life. This is not a sprint. This is a long time game, and the more equipped we are to be able to have long, fulfilling careers. This is part of the reason why from the HHS and the Surgeon General, this is a big emphasis, our well-being at work. And the last piece I would give to the employer end is creating that culture of wellness is a huge payoff. And the more that we can have that as a focus, the more that we can have a thriving company and society, and our money goes a long way when we make that investment.
Yeah, employees who feel supported, of course, but the statistics also show they are more engaged, more productive, and they stick around much longer. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Mina Merholm, psychiatrist and assistant professor of psychiatry at Columbia University. Good to speak with you as always.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.